Hello everyone, Steve Gage here, NASM certified personal trainer and co-owner of Engage Fitness DC. Today we're going to go over improving on body imbalances, focusing on your squat. Everybody has those imbalances, whether our body's letting us know or not. Everybody has them, from pro athletes to people just starting out with their wellness journey. We're just going to find out a couple different ways how to work on those imbalances and how to improve on our overall squat shape. There's so many different variations that we can take. We're just going to focus on a few of the common things that we find that are imbalanced in a squat. So first, one of the things that we've noticed in a lot of our clients that we come across with is when they come into their squat, the knees tend to cave in. And we want to keep as much as we can the knees in line with the toes. That just sets the joints and limbs up to proper movement in that squat. Because when the knees cave in, puts a lot of strain on the hip and the ankle. We want to avoid that as much as possible. And a few reasons why these things happen is there's certain tightnesses or imbalances in the body that the body compensates and takes over for. What I mean by that is, for example, one thing that we found when the knees cave in, it tends to be, one of the things is muscle tightness on the adductors. Those muscles on the inside of the thigh, they tend to be super tight, and when we move down, they just squeeze together and bring the legs in. We want to keep them, again, in line with the toes. So we're going to show you some ways to stretch and loosen those fibers in the middle of the thigh, allowing the hips to open up and really get into your squat, activating your glutes and quads as much as you can. So when we start, we get onto the floor, and if you're doing this before your workout, we're going to do more of an active stretch where we create some movement, again loosening up those fibers and allowing the legs to move and open up into that squat. So we get into a seated position. One foot comes in, one foot comes out, just as much as you can get it, because you want to feel, again, that stretch as much as possible. And then using the hands, we roll onto the side of the leg. We want to get that inside of the foot flat on the floor. And we're going to take the active stretch first, and then we'll show you a static stretch, which I would recommend doing after the workout, because dynamic or active stretching we want to generally do before the workout, again loosening up those fibers, prepping them for movement. So we simply roll onto the side, getting, again, that inside of that foot right against the floor, getting the inside of the leg as close to the floor as you can. And you may only need to move here before you feel that movement. You want to feel that stretch, again, on the inner thigh, those adductors on the inner thigh. And we're just rolling sideways. Again, if you need to take that little extra, you can lean into that leg and stretching out those inner thigh fibers. And then you come right back down to the floor, and we're just rolling back and forth, again, flossing those fibers, stretching them out, getting them a little bit of movement. You're just rolling down to the side. Again, you're just getting that inside of the leg as close to the floor as you can. Quick 1 second pause, and then roll back to your seat. Roll back down, back to your seat. Again, you can change around that leg position if you're not feeling as much of a stretch. Try to get that leg a little farther out, because the farther that knee is away from the hip, the more stretch you're going to get in that leg. You're just rolling down, back. Rolling down, back. And again, if you need a little extra, you can lean in towards that leg a little more. Keeping that leg as straight as possible. If you notice it starts to bend, just take the position to where that leg stays straight. Again, the straighter that leg is, the more stretch we feel on that inner thigh. And of course, we're going to do both sides. And getting that other leg now close to the body as you can, onto the heel. And again, depending on your range of motion, we're trying to get that leg out to the side as much as possible. And then just rolling to the side, keeping that leg straight, and then roll back. Straight, and roll back. Again, you can adjust your body to where you feel more of a stretch. You may need to lean in a little more to really get that stretch activated. But it's just a simple, small roll over, and then back. And you're doing 10 to 12 repetitions, 2 to 3 times each side, and that'll stretch out those adductors and lessen the likelihood of those knees caving in. You can also take this position more of a elevated position, where now we're on the knee, and same thing, rolling out to the side, keeping that foot straight up, and then rolling that knee down towards the floor. Again, the closer you are to that floor, the more stretch you're going to get. So we're just rolling back, and then down. Back, and then down. And if you're doing this more towards the end of your workout, what you can do instead of moving is find that position where you really feel that stretch and hold it for that 3 to 4 nice relaxing breaths, or that 15 to 20 seconds. Whichever is easier for you to keep track of the count. You want to hold that for that time period and then release. And then give that side a break, switching to the other side. Okay, this is the more elevated version. And we're still trying to get the inside of that leg down to the floor. And if you need to move that other foot out of the way to give you a little more range of motion. But we want to, again, feel that stretch all on the inside of the leg. And just like the seated version, if you need to lean in a little more, because as you lean, it pulls the hips a little farther away from that knee, getting more into the inner thigh and stretching it out. So those are just some variations to relieve that inner thigh tension. If you notice in your squat, you have a tendency for the knees to cave in. One factor is your inner thighs might be a little tight. So those are just some ways to loosen up those fibers and allow more movement in the legs. And another reason the knees might cave in is the adductors, the muscles in the middle, are stronger than the abductors, the ones on the outside, the thigh muscles on the outer side of the legs. And when those are stronger, they tend to take over for the weaker muscles, and then that's why those legs come in. So I'm going to show you some ways to strengthen those abductors on the outside. And one way is we get into all fours, knees underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders. And these are appropriately called fire hydrants. You'll see why in a moment. So we're lifting one knee at a time out to the side, keeping that 90-degree shape with the leg. And we're just raising the leg just to the point where we start to feel the hips roll. We want to keep the hips square, really honing in on that side of the hip all the way to the side of your glutes. And just raising that leg up just until you feel they're dumping, and then stop right there, come back down. And we want to feel that nice tension, that squeeze on the outside of the thigh all the way up to the side of your glutes. And keeping your eyes down. Shoulders are square, hips are square, core is slightly active. And just coming out. You can either touch back down to the floor, or you can keep the knee elevated slightly. It's up to you. We just want to get 15 repetitions. And if at all you're not sure you're hitting the right area, just hold that leg up and notice where you're feeling that tension. If you feel it more in the opposite hip, maybe square your hips down a little bit, because we want to feel it right on the outside all the way to the side of your glutes. So we just hold that, feel where that tension is, and then come back down. And you're doing 15 repetitions on each side, 2 to 3 times. Again, feeling it right on the outside of the thigh all the way to the side of your glutes. And another way we can strengthen that muscle group is Line on the side, completely down. The hand that's underneath is going to act as a small pillow, just cushioning your head, not pushing on the neck, because you want to keep that neck in line with the spine the whole time. Legs are straight out, all your joints are lined up, your feet shouldn't be in front or behind. You want to keep the legs in line with the hips and shoulders. And we're raising that top leg as high as we can, and then back down. That leg just turn just a little bit. Just taps the floor, crossing that other leg, and then comes straight up again. We want to feel that on the outside of the hip all the way to the side of your glutes. And we're doing 15 to 20 repetitions. Again, getting that leg as high as you can, and then back down. Slow and control, not flinging the leg up. You want to control that movement up and down. And another thing is we're keeping those hips square on top of each other. We want to avoid the hips rocking side to side as we move. So even if you have to decrease the range of motion to keep those hips square, you're going to get more bang for your buck and really hone in on the outside of that hip. And 15 to 20 repetitions each side, 2 to 3 times. Again, if you're finding the outside of your hip is a little underdeveloped compared to the inside, twice a week for a few weeks should even out those imbalances and improve your overall squat shape. And another issue we've had with clients and their squats is they feel they're not reaching that depth that they're looking for, because we really want to get as low as we can, not to the floor obviously, just low enough where we can really activate your glutes, because that's your strongest muscle in your entire body, and we want to utilize that muscle by hitting that proper depth. Because the lower you go, the more glutes you get, the more force you can get on the way up. And one thing we're going to focus on for improving squat depth is we're going to start right at the bottom of the movement with the calf and ankle. Because a lot of times the ankle, especially in the back, is really tight, especially a lot of us are sitting, we're in that bent over position, our ankle's in that shape for hours and it gets stiff. So we want to loosen up that ankle in the back. One way we can do that is find a wall or solid surface. Get your hands on the wall. One foot is back, getting that heel as close to the floor as you can. And that front foot, I'm going to pretend this edge of my mat is my wall. So my hands are on the wall. Your toes are as close with that front foot, and that back foot again is getting that heel as close to flat as you can. And you're going to lean forward, keeping that leg straight, and you'll feel that nice stretch all the way from the back of the calf. And if you're not feeling it, just get that foot a little farther away, and then lean forward, really feeling the back of that calf stretch out. And if you're doing this at the beginning, just take some pulses. So keep that leg straight and just rock forward, rock back. Rock forward, rock back. And what that's going to do is loosen up those tense fibers in the back. And if you're doing this at your end of your workout, you can hold that position again for that 15 to 20 seconds or that 3 to 4 breaths. Again, just getting a little farther into that position, really feeling that stretch in the back of the leg. And another way you can loosen up those fibers in the back of your ankle is you get into a lunge. Again, if you're doing this at home or at a gym and you have the ability to have a little cushion, you can put something underneath your knee if you have sensitive joints or have had surgery in the past. I'm going to be mainly working on this front foot. So either your hands are on your thigh, or if you're able to reach the floor, that's fine too. But we're going to get this knee as far forward as we can. Again, feeling that nice stretch in the back of the ankle and the calf. And we're just leaning forward. And we should feel no pain with this position, especially in the knee and ankle. We just want to feel that stretch. So just take it to where you can feel that stretch. And again, if this is at the beginning, take some pulses. So rock forward, lean back, give it a second rest. Lean forward, and then come back. Lean forward, and come back. Because what we're doing, again, is prepping that ankle for movement instead of just hopping into our squat, whether what variation or weight we're using. We want to prep it for the exercise, especially if it's an area of tension for you. And if you're doing this at the end, similarly, we just hold that position for that 15 to 20 seconds, or that 3 to 4 breath count. And while you're doing the static stretch, where you're holding it, try to increase that distance just a little bit each few breaths, and then give it some time to recover. You can also test your mobility at home, just so you can keep track of how much tension you're relieving in that ankle. So the way we can do that is, I'm going to use my edge of my mat as my imaginary wall. So we get our toes, start with an inch or two away from the wall, and then we're going to try to get that knee to touch the wall. So once you reach that point, bring the foot back a little farther, just an inch or two farther, and just see how far you can get that foot away and have the knee touch the wall. Because again, we're going to feel that stretch in the back of the calf, and we get to see how much mobility we've gained while we're working on those stretches and exercises. Because at the beginning, you may have to get the toes right against the wall, and that's it. But as long as we keep up with that work, we'll be able to get the foot farther back until we get a good range of motion that is appropriate for our squat. So again, just find that imbalance or thing that's holding you back from that specific position and work on it individually. Work on one limb at a time. Maybe it's one compensating for the other. Maybe both have that same tension or imbalance, and just you haven't been aware of it yet. So just break down the movement into single limb or one-sided and see which one is pulling its weight and which one needs a little bit more TLC. Well, hopefully these exercises and stretches are helpful for improving your squat shape. We'll see you guys next time. Be safe, be kind, and choose to be well. Take care.